Hi everybody, it's Debra Burgin from heartfeltinspiration.com. If you watched last week's video, Peter showed you how to open and close your ink pads. And today I want to continue talking about ink pads, and I want to show you how I re-ink them. So I'm going to be using a stamp from Dino Days, which is a stamp set I love. And in fact, Peter just had this one out because he was making a birthday card for his dad. This is a photopolymer stamp set. It's a kind of an interesting one in that there's some shading built into the stamp. And so you may think that you're not getting a good image, and it's really just that that's the way the stamp is. But I'm going to be using a stamp, an ink pad, Sahara Sand, that is not as inky as I want, and I'll show you how I know that. So this is an old style ink pad. Your thumb is on the top of the cover of the ink pad, and I'm holding it back here so it doesn't fly off, which it shouldn't. I'm pushing with my thumb. That's as far as it goes. I grab back here and bring it towards me and push it into place and lock it. Okay, so that's what he showed you last week, but I know that some of it was a little bit off camera. Okay, so I've got one of the stamps. I don't know what this dinosaur is. I don't know them like he does. Maybe it's, just a miscellaneous one. Okay, I'm going to ink this up. And sometimes I told him yesterday that he was having trouble getting a good image, and I said sometimes it's easier to put pad to stamp. The thing that you have to watch out about with that is that you don't ink up, which I just did, the edge of the block. Okay, so here's and I'm doing this diagonally because this is scrap I had. Okay, so you see that these lighter marks here are exactly the same as they are on the stamp case. So that's not a problem with inking or pressing or anything else. That is just the way it's supposed to be. However, what I told him is that because, and you know this, because photopolymer stamps don't have any foam on them like our traditional red rubber stamps, you can put a piece of foam underneath your paper. So this is what I used before we had any kind of foam pads for other uses. And this is a placemat that I found. I think I got 4 of them for $1. And it's just got a little bit of foam. And I cut it up, and it's the perfect thing. It's just got a little sponginess to it so that you can really press down. Okay, that's a little tip. Anyway, my point here is that this is too light and I want a darker image. So this is Sahara Sand. This is pretty light anyway, but I'm going to re-ink it. So before I start re-inking, I do two things. I double check to make sure I know what the color of ink is that I've got. And I double check to make sure I know what the re-inker is. So this is Sahara Sand Refill. I put a little dot. This is just from our old 1/4-inch handheld punch, and then there's a glue dot underneath here. I put a little one of those on top, so as I'm looking at them, I can grab something that's this color and not, say, blue or whatever. Okay, so here's what I do. I go around the outside. I'm squeezing. Go around the outer edge. And then I start scribbling. Now, I'll tell you that I have over-inked an ink pad, and then to try and blot out some of the ink is a little bit tedious, but this one I know is really, really light. Okay, I don't really want to leave it like that. You can tell where I have put the ink. I think you can see that. So then I put the cover on, use the bottom of the refill to smush the ink into the pad. Now, I do this, as I say, with authority, but I don't want to destroy my ink pad by, ripping it or catching it or taking it off the glue or anything like that. I'm pressing and I'm kind of smushing. Other people do this with a plastic spoon. That's a good way to do it too. I would never use a bone folder because I don't want to worry about staining. But I hope you can see the difference that I have distributed that ink quite a bit. You want to make sure that you clean off the bottom. Good way to get your fingers inky. And I just have a wet piece of paper towel. Okay, now let's see what this looks like. Another piece of scratch paper. Ink up. I could stamp that upside down, but notice the difference. Wow. Oh, I guess it would help if you could see it. So that's a pretty amazing difference. So this Sahara sand almost looks a little bit more like crumb cake right now. When I put this away and the ink has a little bit of time to distribute itself through the sponge, it'll probably look different. And it may lighten when it dries. Sometimes that happens too. But don't be content with an image that's this color when it should be more like this. Okay, that's my ink pad tip for today. I appreciate your watching. All of us at heartfeltinspiration.com say thank you. See you next week.